Hey folks, see if I can light this pipe here. Not with that lighter. A little too windy out here. I'm smoking my Dr. Grayberg. Got some early morning pipe in it. I might not even have to relight it. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. Give it a light right around the edge. I'm going to do a top 5 Friday that's a little different. There's been a lot of stuff on my mind I want to talk about, but it's not usually the kind of stuff I talk about on here. A lot of stuff going on in the world. A lot of stuff going on in the USA. Probably know what I'm talking about. A lot of junk going on, I think. So I thought I would address it in the form of a top 5 Friday. I wrote myself some notes here so I don't look stupid. So I don't sound stupid. I probably look stupid anyway. And I might sound stupid too. We'll see. So these are 5 words that no longer mean what they used to mean. 5 words whose definition has been changed. To suit people's needs. I think old man Webster had it right when he wrote words down in the dictionary. You opened it up, you found out what they meant. That's not the case anymore. You go back and look at dictionaries from 40 years ago versus ones from this year, you'll see different meanings. You'll see some words that had 1 or 2 definitions back then that have 15 definitions now. Anyway, here's 5 of them that I think are relevant to what I'm trying to get at. Number 1, justice. Justice, the administering of deserved punishment. Judgment of persons or causes by a judicial process. That's what judgment means. I'm sorry, that's what justice means. That's not what justice means anymore. You see stuff happen, immediately you start seeing people crying, justice for this, justice for that. Justice for this person, justice for that person. Just this week, or last week, I don't know this whole story, but I read a little bit about it. Some girl, she was probably in her late teens, I believe. And I believe it was in, I can't remember, it was in a big city like Chicago or something. Went to a party at a hotel. Got drunk, somehow wandered off, got herself locked into a freezer, and died. Immediately, the throng started protesting at the hotel, demanding justice from police, demanding justice from the hotel, demanding justice for this girl. This is before they even knew what happened. Still don't know what happened. Autopsy hasn't been released yet. Security cams, a whole bunch of them, I think there were like 40 of them, followed her through this building. Saw her get drunk, saw her wander off, saw her walk into the freezer. Nobody else around her. Never saw her come out. They found her a couple of days later. Well, just exactly how do you get justice in that situation? What judicial process needs to be enacted? But you see it all the time. Justice for, this person or that person, people that have been killed, people that have gotten themselves into situations where they found themselves dead. I don't have to list names, you know who I'm talking about. Many of them. Justice now means we want somebody to pay for this. Whether it was right, wrong, indifferent, accidental, whatever, somebody's got to pay for this. And that's not what justice is. And there was a case just this week of a cop that shot and killed somebody. It's been several years ago. He died. They ended up charging him with first-degree murder, and they acquitted him today. Of course, protest, justice, justice, justice. Justice took place in that case. Whether you agree with the outcome or not, justice took place. Justice is a process, not an outcome. Number 2 on this list, protest. What does protest mean? One definition I found that I think suits it best in the classic sense: an expression or declaration of objection, disapproval, or dissent, often in opposition to something a person is powerless to prevent, such as taxation, or anything else a person's powerless to prevent. Often in older days, protest was done in the form of a written document. Here's a protest. That's changed a little bit over the years. Protest now means go out and break shit. Doesn't mean the same thing. If it were used in the classic term, classic sense of the word, maybe, just maybe, it would have more effective outcomes. Instead of going around tearing stuff up, and all the other types of protests that we see now, serves no purpose except to rile people up, divide people, hurt people, kill people, destroy property. And in the end, nothing changes. Something else happens. They forget about that. They go over here and protest this. It's an endless cycle. Another one on this list is racist. What is a racist? A racist is or racism is inherent differences between racial groups that determine cultural or individual achievement. Usually, can't read my own writing here, usually thinking one's own race is superior. Two races are looked at next to each other, and one of them, by whichever group, determines that this one is better, inherently better, simply because of the race, than that one. That is racism. They say because this one's better, that one is not as smart, is not as able, is not as physically, it has as much physical prowess or whatever. That is racism. Racism is not disagreeing with someone of a different race than you, no matter what race you are. Racism gets thrown around more than any other word, I think, in false pretext, false context. You see it often when it's applied to immigration, politics, and we see it most often when applied to three groups. And you might think I'm a racist for saying this, but I'll disagree with you till I die. We see it applied in the instance of Mexicans who live in America or who live in Mexico who want to come to America. If you think it ought to be done a certain way through certain means, as opposed to just letting people break the laws that have been in existence for a long time, then you must hate Mexicans. You must be racist against Mexicans. Keep in mind that Mexican is not a race. You never see it applied if I disagree with a Polish person coming here or an Italian person coming here against the rules and laws of the country. That's fine. The other group you see it applied to often are Muslims. Racist against Muslims. Muslim is not a race. Muslims are not a race. Islam is not a race. Islamic inherents are not a race of people. And the other group you see it applied from both sides are African Americans. Specifically, what came to mind when I was saying this was like Barack Obama. If you disagreed or disagree with any of his policies, you must be a racist. So what if I disagree with any of Abraham Lincoln's policies? I'm this color, he's the same color, he's the same race as I am. Does that make me racist? Why should disagreeing with someone's ideologies make me racist against them if they happen to be of a different race? But you see it thrown about all over the place. You racist. You don't believe this, you're a racist. You don't believe that, you're a racist. No, you're not. You may be an ideologue of some sort. There's nothing wrong with that. Here's one. Freedom. What does freedom mean? Freedom means rather than in confinement or restraint, exemption from external control, interference, or regulation. Often used synonymously with liberty. I have a blog that I haven't blogged to in quite a while. It's called Responsible Liberty. I talk about things that I think fit within that framework of thought. The main thought being responsible liberty are two things that are intertwined unchangeably. They cannot be separated with a positive outcome. You cannot have complete liberty or freedom without it devolving into anarchy. You cannot have full responsibility without liberty or freedom without it devolving into tyranny. They have to work together. You can have freedoms, you can have all the freedoms you want, or all that you can get, but you have to use them responsibly. Freedom now means freedom to do anything I want with no repercussions, with no responsibilities, with no nothing. I do what I want when I want, and you have to leave me alone because of it. That's not the way it works. I have said a whole lot about that on my blog. I could sit here for hours, but anyway. Next on this list is a word applied to a certain set of people. That word is Nazi. Nazi. National Socialist German Workers' Party. That's what a Nazi was. Was a member of that party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. Their ideals included totalitarian government, territorial expansion, anti-Semitism, Aryan supremacy. Those were their four basic tenets. I personally don't believe very many Nazis exist today. There are people who think they're Nazis. There are people who look up to that Nazi ideal and what Hitler did. But when it comes right down to it, they're not Nazis. They're misguided folks. But here in the last, 3 or 4 months especially, you've been seeing Nazi bandied about more and more and more. Especially when speaking of people of one political persuasion, must be Nazis. Think about it. When you're thinking about the two basic political parties in America, one of them wants less government control, basically. That does not jibe well with totalitarian government. They're not really the same thing at all. One of them, most people identify themselves as conservative capitalists. That is not socialist. Those two things don't go together very well at all. Anti-Semitism. I don't know if you know who Ben Shapiro is. He's an editor, I believe, He's a speaker. He's the editor at Breitbart, I think. Anyway, he's Jewish. Just had a big speech up at UC Berkeley last night, I think. Of course, there were people out there protesting, calling him racist, demanding justice, calling him a Nazi, questioning his Jewish heritage. Claiming he was denying their freedoms because of what he believes. Berkeley spent $600,000 on security for this particular event, a 2-hour speech. $600,000 they paid in order to ensure freedom of speech for this man. Still, half of Berkeley got torn down, windows broken, stuff set on fire, people arrested for having weapons, all kinds of crap, just because they were against this man. He doesn't seem like a Nazi to me based on his basic principles. The people that were there to shut him up, however, tend to fit in with that kind of mindset far greater than he does. But because words have been changed and meanings have been changed, he's the Nazi. I don't care whether you like him or not. If you look at it objectively, with a clear thinking, reasoned approach, he is anything but a Nazi. So anyway, there's my top 5 words that have lost their meaning. And some examples of why I believe so. Hope this didn't hurt any feelings. I'd hate to do that. If it instigates further comment, I'd be more than willing to share my views. You probably know what I think. What I don't want to happen, and I won't allow to happen, is personal attacks and things like that in my comment section. If I see that, I'll just delete it. You have all the freedom of speech you want, but not on my channel. I've never had to delete a comment other than spam. So anyway, hope you guys have a good weekend. Got a couple of VRs still that I want to do that I haven't quite decided what I want to say in them. So I'll smoke this pipe and ponder that for a little while. Take care of yourselves. Be cool.